Yo, so in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down exactly how this guy, Serge Gatari, used to be a glorified freelancer and he scaled to 1 mil plus a month. And all you have to do is copy him. I'm gonna break down every single thing he does in his funnel to be able to generate these type of results. And I'm gonna explain it in simple terms so you can implement it straight into your funnel. So first thing first, what did he do at a sort of basic level? All he does is he gets traffic, generates interested lead, and then he converts the lead. This is something I like to call the traffic trifecta. So let's get straight into how he actually gets traffic. Because without traffic, of course, he can't actually sell anyone. You can't sell if no one knows about your product. So this is probably the most important step. So first thing first, he's got his Instagram here. All right, he's got YouTube here, and then he's got his Twitter here. He's got 3 acquisition platforms, which is really good. I will say focus on Instagram and YouTube if you are just starting out. So as you can see here, he's got a bunch of thumbnails for his Instagram reels. This is not actually, all his Instagram reels are actually objection handling reels. What do I mean by that? I mean that they say stuff about a program saying, oh yeah, what if I don't have the money? Then he's gonna say something like, oh yeah, we provide payment plans, or a bigger partnership bonus, something like that. Oh yeah, what if my agency is in this niche? Oh yeah, we've also helped someone in this niche before, blah blah blah, stuff like that basically. Also, the entire point of his reels is just to nurture more people and make them understand that, oh yeah, actually, because people are going to have objection in their head, and the whole point of your rules is going to be to objection handle them before they even hop on a sales call, to even try to push them to try to get a sales call. Cool. Anyways, on Instagram, he also does story sequences. These have been popping off recently. Quite simply, it's because you have followers. Okay, cool. And then your followers are going to be the people who see your story. The people who follow you with you, the people who follow you even, are the people who actually really like your content. So they're also the warmest leads. So just having story sequences makes it really easy for them to see. And then you can also do a close friend sequence where you have all your followers in it as well, but you've got to pay for that on the back end. But basically, this is how the story sequences should look. It should have a hook, like something like an employment announcement. Just hook them in, make them feel like, oh yeah, okay, cool, this guy's about to tell me something that's worth my time. Because at the end of the day, on Instagram, you're really fighting for their attention. Not quite so much on YouTube, but still on YouTube. But on Instagram, since it's short form, people's attention span are a lot shorter when they're on the app. Okay? Next, talk about story. Talk about like what happened. So how he done it, he said, oh yeah, I used to be a glorified freelancer until I understood how to use AI, until I understood that I needed to use back-end infrastructures to just implement in other business, stuff like that. Basically try to make them basically understand your way of thinking. Okay, so you're trying to shift their mindset with this one. Okay, and then you use proof. In this era, there's barely any proof anymore, so undeniable proof is what prints money nowadays. So you just need to show people that you won using what like your own methodologies, and you also need to prove that your students won. Because at the end of the day, they might just think, oh, you got lucky. But if you can repeatedly provide results for different people from different backgrounds, and they might even look at someone and be like, oh, this guy's my age, this guy came from exactly where I was from and won, and then they'll buy from you because they'll be like, oh, okay, actually, you know what, he didn't get lucky, he actually knows what he's doing. It's a repeatable process. Cool. Then you do a CTA. At the end of the day, humans are lazy. We need to make sure that we actually act with some urgency and scarcity. So how do we do this? We provide limited spots in our mentorship, and we also provide a transformation. Because at the end of the day, they're not really buying a program. They don't really care. They just care about where it's going to get them. So whether it be for this guy, oh yeah, join us and then we'll help you generate 100k a month by giving you our plug and play infrastructures, etc. Cool. Anyways, that's how he nurtures them. But how do they actually get traffic into the door? The main thing he does is that it's working quite a lot actually for quite a lot of people, especially someone called Breast Scales. They go viral by flexing their lifestyle. At the end of the day, when humans see sort of rich stuff, we sort of tend to believe them more. But at the end of the day, it needs to become believable though. So what do I mean by that? We need to show that these sort of day in the life that he does sometimes, we need to show that despite him living a good life, there's still work on the back end for them to actually believe what's going on. Cool. And then basically he goes viral by flexing lifestyle, then he nurtures the audience. So how do you do this? He's got 30% top of funnel. What I mean by that is that's like the point of view videos like this, where he entertains them. 20% middle of funnel, this is where he tries to convince them that his model is actually what it's about. And then 50% bottom of funnel, where you're trying to educate. Because at the end of the day, especially for this niche specifically, it's not too unknown of a niche where you have to start convincing people. Because there's Iman Godji, who's already done most of the convincing for you. Now you just need to convince them that you're the right person for it. Okay? Cool. The right person to teach them the model even. Okay? So there's that. Then also on Twitter, I will say Twitter is more like a thing where it's like, oh yeah, you get results and then you just put your thoughts out there every now and then. People like authenticity on Twitter, not someone running the account. So just whenever something pops up in his head, he just posts about it. Okay? Now, this is the 7-11-4 rule. What is that? That's actually how many hours, how many different contact points across how many different platforms people need to succeed in like purchasing a program. A complete stranger. So 7 hours, 11 different contact points, 4 different platforms. Cool. He also used the email. I'm gonna run through that in a second. But yeah, basically that's what he needs. So undeniable proof though is one thing that I really want to mention. That's what's been printed, because at the end of the day, when a proof for a session, we need to make sure that they understand the amount of value they're getting. Okay. And the fact that it's a repeatable process, your sort of methodology. Okay, so how do you generate interest in leads? Once again, he uses the entertain, convince, educate cycle. Okay, top funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel. Okay, then he pushes that into the rest of the funnel. I'm going to explain how he does that in a second. But for now, we need to mention the fact that you did the case study flywheel, which is really important and is printing like crazy. Basically, first thing first, you want to do content. Okay, then you're going to get a client. And then you're going to get client results. Then you're going to create content about the client, and then you're going to rinse and repeat the entire process. So, as you can see here, this is a case study of how I built an $8 million business in 18 months, full interview, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And then obviously, more people get convinced, more people buy and be like, oh, okay, cool. This guy sort of started where I was. Oh, why not join? Let me join. They join, they win. They repeat the process. Okay? So that's the methodology behind that. And at the end of the day, once again, when a proof session, we need to make sure that we're giving out as much proof as we possibly can. Okay. Something else I want to mention really quickly. He does an ICP specific document. Now, what does this mean? He's got his age, he's got the occupation, he's got dreams, he's got fears, he's got the current life, he's got thoughts, and he's trying to understand them as much as possible. So when he's talking in the videos, he sort of pricks them at their pain points and pricks them at their dream state and tries to make sure they understand, oh yeah, I used to be in your position. I know exactly what you want. Trust me, I'll get you to where you need to be. I'm going to show you exactly a document which I used to break this entire thing down. Just give me 1 second. So as you can see here, this is the offer creation sheet that I give to all my clients. Just a bunch of questions, and basically just helps us narrow down exactly who our ICP is, so we actually sell to them. Because at the end of the day, not everybody's going to buy your product, so we need to make sure we focus on the people who actually are and focus all our marketing efforts into that. Okay, cool. Something else that he does to sort of nurture his leads a bit more is that he does ask me questions. Now, this is a double-edged sword. What do I mean by that? It means that he can do market research to this and also objection handle at the same time. So let's say someone says, ask me a question and be like, oh, I don't know if landscaping, you can work with landscaping people. He'll reply to that, and then everybody who is ever having that question is gonna be like, oh, okay, never mind, he can work with landscaping people. And then everybody who had the issue with, oh, I don't know if this guy works for my niche, can now work for a niche. And then he also understands now that in the messaging, he isn't explaining the fact that, oh, I can actually work with a bunch of different niches, and people currently think he's sort of restricted to a certain niche. And now in his content, he's going to promote the fact that, oh, I actually can work with a bunch of different people. So now people are going to be more convinced. Cool. And then it also just helps with market research, because the questions that they ask, they'll be like, oh, okay, so these are the questions which I haven't objection handled well enough for them to understand it. So let me start implementing more objection handling in my roles, in my YouTube, in my content in general. Okay, cool. So bottom of funnel, where does it go? Now it goes to his bio. Okay, currently he's promoting a webinar, he's running a webinar funnel. What that means basically is that he's getting traffic, he's getting them to sign up, and then he's getting them to come up on a certain time and then watch a webinar. His webinar actually automated is every single week. He probably, in my opinion, he probably does the recording once. So what they do, they record once, and then every time they just live record the webinar again. Okay. Now this is also a paid webinar. Now there's many different reasons for that. The reason it's paid is $97 a month, which I can show you actually now. Oh, actually $27 even, my bad. So $27 to save a seat. Now the reason for this is it's just enough to scare off anybody who's not actually serious and waste their time, and it's not too little where the fact that anybody can get in, basically. Cool. So that's the whole point of making it paid. You get less leads, but the quality of your leads are a lot higher. Okay, and then he just sells to a bunch of different people. So you can, I guess you can say it's a sales call for everyone. Okay, I'm gonna break down the webinar structure as well later on. Okay. Then he's only got 3 links. I want to mention that actually real quickly. You don't want to confuse your prospects, so make sure there's not too many links. Make sure it's very easy to understand what the next step is. Okay, now we've got to learn more. Now this video, which is this one, is linked in every single one of his bios. Now this is something called a hidden VSO. Now it's hidden VSO on YouTube. Now the reason for this is because on YouTube, people naturally understand that, oh, I'm not being sold to every 2 seconds. They understand they're being sold to just this heathen VSL makes sure that the sales guard is a bit lower, and this guy isn't really pitching them. He's just pitching an opportunity for them to understand it's out there. Okay, you don't want to pitch the offer, you want to pitch the opportunity. Cool. So now that people know the opportunity is out there, they're going to try to learn more about it, and they'll understand, oh, you know what, this guy knows what he's talking about, and let me go to the next step of his funnel. Okay. And then he also says, follow me on IG and messages, so he can start nurturing people to using stories and different sort of mechanisms. Instagram is definitely the best marketing platform by far. But YouTube is definitely the best place where you can build trust and stuff like that. Cool. Now this is the IG and Twitter bio, which links straight back to the webinar page, which is right here. I'm going to break this down in a second as well, but this is a sort of a rough overview of it for now. Okay, just a bunch of proof and stuff like that. Okay, now the last part where it actually matters is basically this is where he starts converting the leads. I'm going to break down the VSL structure in a second, but let me break down the sales page first. So I talked about exactly why he makes it paid. So that's done. He also makes a clear offer. Once again, he's sort of providing an opportunity, trying to tell them, oh yeah, AI growth and structures are like the new way to move business, because in this sort of niche with agencies, you need to stand out with your own unique mechanism. And in the video, you're going to feel convinced. Now I'm going to tell you the VSL structure in a second as well, though. And then you've got CTAs. I want to mention the fact that he's got multiple CTAs. So CTA there, and then CTA there. Cool. So he's got a bunch of different CTAs. Okay, the whole point of that is because you don't really want someone to scroll all the way up just to click your CTA again. They might get lazy. Who knows? And anyways, the rest of the page is filled out. This includes bullet points, sort of making it easy to digest. To be honest, it's sort of the VSL, sort of in a sales letter format. Some of it's in a sales letter format, and then some of it's something to do with bullet points. So I would actually recommend doing bullet points for your own VSL, just in case someone wants to like get a high level overview of your actual product. Cool. And then he's got a testimonial wall. This is going back to the undeniable proof. As many strap screenshots as he can possibly get. That's the way I'd recommend going by, because at the end of the day, someone saying, oh yeah, I really like this program. No one really cares. Okay, so I'd recommend doing that, and then also case studies if you can. But he already would have promoted case studies on his YouTube, so I'm guessing that's why he's not got on his sales page. Cool. And then he's also got a 100% money back guarantee. I'd actually recommend doing this, because especially for low ticket, at the end of the day, you're not really going for the low ticket. The low ticket is sort of to like even out your acquisition costs. So let's say you're running ads, you run 27 ads per lead, and then you get 27 cost per acquisition, and then you pay 27, then you're break even. Then you're not losing any money on the front end. Okay, and then everybody that gets in is actually sort of qualified and stuff like that. Cool. 100% money back guarantee. I actually recommend doing this, because once again, it will just push people over the edge. $27 isn't that deep if you do get charged back. Okay, and stuff like that. But obviously, if you provide enough value, you shouldn't be getting that many of them anyways. Okay, cool. Now let's go over the VSL structure. This is where he actually prints the money and actually convinces them, oh yeah, I'm the man for the job, basically. Cool. So he does a qualified question. If you are a something who wants something, so if you're an agency owner who wants to get out of the 30k a month hellhole or something like that, cool. Anti-guru angle. What I mean by that, this is being rinsed quite a lot by a bunch of different gurus, so who knows, I might become the new guru angle. But the anti-guru angle, it was basically where you say, oh yeah, I'm not like all these other gurus, and it state a couple things why you're not like these other gurus. So like, oh yeah, I don't really need your money, I'm just trying to help out. Obviously you can't make it that obvious, but it has to be that sort of like guidelines. So that's what he did. He then provided proof straight away, just to make sure that they know, oh yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Unique mechanism, he did trend hijacking. So trend hijacking, in this case, what he did is that he hopped on the AI bandwagon. People love AI, so he just decided to have AI in his unique mechanism, sort of understanding and explaining exactly why his mechanism works. And so trend hijacking AI. Why you're failing right now. Okay, cool. So this is now him trying to pinch the sort of pain that his prospects potentially can have, like, or if they're still doing cold outreach, or if their content's bad, stuff like that. What's working right now, showing them what's working right now. I'm giving examples and why it's working. So explaining the why between the what, behind the what even. Then he gives the story, personal transformation. So then they are buying from him, so they need to understand his own personal transformation. And then he digs deeper into the pains, tries to make them understand, oh, on their current trajectory, they're never going to get to the life that they've always wanted even. And then proof, once again, always got a sprinkle bit of proof throughout the entire thing. And then he mentioned what's included. And then this is sort of like the same bullet points that was on the VSL page, the sales letter page even, a bit earlier here. Cool. All right, so he talks about what's included. Okay, then he justified the price. I wouldn't recommend doing this for a high ticket, but this is low ticket, so it's fine. He actually sells his high ticket thing on the back end. So webinar, book calls, and then high ticket. I'll show you that in a second. Cool. Then he talks about some bonuses that they get for free, and then he does the call to action, like, okay, cool, sign up to the webinar. And then he says it's limited to 100 spots. Okay, just to sort of promote people to go a bit quicker. Okay, cool. Now, before the actual webinar actually starts, what I end up doing is they tries to get anybody who actually watched it to try to come back to it. So he actually doesn't opt in. Okay. So his subject line was why average entrepreneurs win bigger than skilled ones. So this is the contrarian sort of subject line. What that means is that it causes controversy. He's like, oh, wait, why? And then throughout this entire thing, he makes it controversial. He then drops the solution. Okay, he drops the solution a bit later on because this is something about the fact that he's doing an open loop, right? So he opens the loop. He's trying to make them understand that, I'm going to explain exactly how I do it, but he doesn't tell them exactly till later. So he does the solution here. Then he had more proof, and then he does the solution here again. So the whole point of this is try to just get them to read the next line. So with copy, just try to get them to read the next line, and the next line will convince them to read the next one, and then by the end, they'll hopefully have read the whole thing. But you need to make sure you don't give all the source straight away, basically. Cool. Then you got some bullet points here, then some more scarcity and urgency into his webinar, and then some CTAs. So this is all just to max out the webinar. I doubt he actually does a 100 seat limit, to be honest. But if he does, it's just to max out. Okay. Now, webinar structure. How does this work? It's pretty simple, to be honest. He does future pacing. What I mean is trying to tell them, okay, cool, this is what you're going to learn, and then this is the benefits you're going to get out of it, the webinar, okay? He's going to build credibility using his own story, using proof. He's going to explain who this isn't for. So immediately, if it says, okay, cool, let's say for me, for example, if I hop on a webinar and it says, oh, okay, this isn't for Kevin, I'm gone. I'm never buying from him. But if he says, this is for Kevin, I'm going to buy from him because it's like, okay, cool, this guy made a whole program about Kevin's winning. Obviously, it's not happening, but the more specific you can get to your ICP, the more likely they'll be like, oh yeah, you know what? This guy actually knows what he's talking about. Cool. Client results, proof, that's all that matters nowadays. Epiphany, he's going to tell you here the epiphany moment. So for him, he was a glorified freelancer, sort of scraping by it until he realized, oh, he needs to do something about it. And then he switched his sort of methodology behind it. And then this is how he got to where he is. He explained the unique mechanism once again using AI to sort of hop in the bandwagon. He's explaining why his method is different though. He's explaining the cost of not taking action. So the cost of not taking action in his case would be staying exactly where you are, sort of digging deeper into the pain. Then he does a crossroad close. Okay, cool. Then this is the opt-in. I forgot to show you that, but that's the opt-in. Okay, cool. So after that entire thing happens, we need to remember, if we look at opt-in, you've got the name, the last name, you've got the email, and you've got the phone number. So if you want running paid ads, we need to make sure that we don't get out with nothing. We need to make sure we get a couple contact details at least, okay? So what ends up happening is that every lead is going to be reached out to via setters. They're going to have a setting script. If they're unqualified, they're going to be shown to free resources, so put back into the ecosystem, and then eventually hopefully buy from him. If they're qualified, the call is confirmed. Then they go through a pre-call flow. What that means basically just to increase show up rate. That means initial email message 24 hours before the call. Then dial 2 hours before the call, email message, sales call, email and message. Cool. So just to try to by message I mean text message. Cool. So it's just trying to get them to actually show up on the call. Then you have the sales call. If there's no show, they get followed up. If it's not closed, they're further nurtured. And then if they're closed, that's big money. Cool. So that's all it is. Cool. Now let me just go through a pretty basic sales call flow here. This is pretty bare bones, but basically all you gotta do is build rapport. Okay, try to just see how your day is doing. Like, don't act like a bot. Then you do fact finding, so you try to understand that situation a bit better, so you can actually sort of mold the offer. So you can mold your offer on the sales call towards their sort of specific needs precisely. So if someone says, oh, I need help with, I don't know, my accounting, but your thing is, oh, I help an entire business run, then you'll say, okay, cool, well, we help your business run, and we also have, you mentioned the fact that you have accounting in the program as well. So you place emphasis on that point of it. Okay, cool. Then you explain the processes and the systems on the sales call, just sort of on a sort of pitch deck, in my opinion. You can use Gamma, that's probably the best one. And then objection handling, obviously they're going to tell you some objections. You just got to explain exactly why their objections aren't valid. I guess you could say everybody's objection is valid. There's a couple of objections actually, which I'll write down. So yeah, there's going to be objections like this where it's like they have no money. Unfortunately, there's no ways of going about that. If they're broke, they're just broke. They can't buy from you. then you can obviously start implementing downtime and stuff like that. So the sales call isn't a complete waste of time, but this is also where the setting process comes in, try to make sure that they're qualified. So the closer actually don't waste his time, because he's going to be like, he's going to get paid like very well. He's going to get paid about 10%, okay, of any commission of the sales closing. So we need to make sure that he's actually utilizing his time properly, okay? Because at the end of the day, he's the money maker. Cool. So no money, and then value objection. Okay, cool. So no money, can't really do anything about value objection. If they ever have something around value, unfortunately, that's something to do with the way you portrayed your program, the way you portrayed your offer. They just don't feel like the money is worth the offer, basically. Okay, so you need to make it like whatever you sell, the value you give them has to be at least 10x of what you sell. Okay, so if you sell for something for $10, they need to have $100 worth of value inside the program. Okay, cool. Objection handling, close. You send them payment on the call to make sure they actually pay, and then you do an entire onboarding process on the back end. Okay. Now, with business in general, you need to track the stats. If you don't track the stats, you're not going to know where you're bottlenecked and where you need to move forward. Cool. So this is the tracking sheet I use for my clients. Obviously, these aren't real numbers. Not going to give them away. But basically, this is just a blank tracking sheet. Got a month revenue, cash collected after fees, call book, live calls, deals closed, deals lost, closed, shown the rate, blah, blah, etc. Okay, cool. So that is basically how you track everything, and you need to make sure you track everything. So for example, let's say deals lost, okay? If this is really high, that means our close rate is really bad. So if this close rate is bad, we need to make sure that we work on our sales process. Cool. If the no-show rate is really high, then we need to make sure we work on our pre-call process to make sure they actually show up on the call, etc. Okay. And then obviously if the call booked aren't high enough, then we need to make sure that our traffic is higher. Anyways, that's exactly how this guy Serge Gatari was able to scale to 1 mil plus a month. I hope you found some value in the video. So if you want to build a similar sort of backend infrastructure into your business and you want me to implement it in your business for you, all done for you, then let me know. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram, then we can find a quick 50-minute time to chat. I can break down this entire process in a bit more detail for your business specifically and give you a customer roadmap, and then we can go from there. Anyways, peace.